Well, there has been a lot of dislike, I will say severe displeasure over a recent change inside of Lightroom Classic when it comes to noise reduction. Recently, Adobe made a change the way that noise reduction works, and it's a good change because it used to be we had to create a separate DNG file to run the denoise feature on. Now you could do it non-destructively on the same raw file that you started with, so you no longer have that duplicate. So that's a good change. The problem is, if we ever wanted to batch process or sync noise reduction to multiple photos before this change, we actually had to do it in a way that was very counterintuitive to the way that we batch or sync changes inside of Lightroom Classic previously. It worked in a very different way. Now with this new change, now we go back to batching and syncing our changes from one photo to multiple photos the same way that we have done it for the last 20 years. So it actually removes a step that really didn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll take a look at exactly what that is in this video. Now, I'm in Lightroom Classic, and what I was referring to about the way that the denoise used to have to be batch applied was we would have to go into grid mode in library, and we would click on one photo, shift click on another bunch of photos, and then we could right click and go down here to enhance. That would open up a window that allowed us to select denoise, and it would run it on all of those photos and create duplicate copies of all those photos, because that's before this week, that's how denoise worked. Now if I click enhance, you're going to see it takes me to develop. It opens it up and it says, hey, this has been moved over into the detail panel. Okay, so this is where you would do it, and you no longer have to create that DNG. So the way that we would now batch process is exactly the way that we would batch process anything else inside of Lightroom Classic. So let's go through a process here. I'm going to go in, I'm going to choose a profile. I'll choose the adaptive color profile. Let's go maybe open up the shadows, a little bit of exposure there. You can see I've already done some cropping to it. So let's just assume I cropped the photo. I'm actually going to pull back on the highlights a bit. And then we'll go down here to detail. I'm going to turn on denoise. So it's going to go ahead and run the denoise on the photo when I click this. Also, this is a great time for a very, very quick 30-second word from our sponsor. You saw a couple wildlife photos in this one. If you are into photographing wildlife, I've got a great course on editing that wildlife. It's a topic that I find a lot of people don't talk about, especially, think of it as a landscape, right? We have harsh light sometimes, we've got dark shadows, we've got bright highlights, we've got distractions, all those things that make editing wildlife just a little bit different from how we'd edit landscapes. And I've got a really popular course, very affordable, very easy to get through, that will help you with some of those wildlife photos that you have. So I hope you'll swing by and check it out. And once it's done, now I can go in here and adjust the little adjustment slider in there to whatever I want to set it to. I can come down here and change the amount slider for sharpening, do whatever I need to the photo. Now, we want to sync this to other photos. So let's reveal the film strip down at the bottom. So we want to sync this to other photos. So there's the photo that I did the denoise on. What we would do is similar process, right? Shift click on whatever group of photos you want to run this on. So I'm just going to shift click on another one down there, and it selects all the photos in between. It's a little hard to tell, but the one that we're working on is actually a little bit brighter highlighted than the other ones in there. So that means it's in a way the most selected photos. The other photos are selected, but this is the one we're working on. And then that exposes the sync button down there at the bottom. So we go ahead and we click on that. Now you'll see that under the detail panel, denoise, raw details, super resolution are the other enhanced options in there. Denoise is really the popular one. I would skip over these two, but now we can go and we can turn this on in addition to the other things. So maybe I want to sync that profile as well, but just like the way that I would sync most photos, very rarely do I ever want to sync the crop. Because that's usually specific for a very specific photo. So I would keep that turned off. But now we go down there, we click on synchronize, and it's going to go through and it's going to run that process for all of the photos. So it might take a little bit of time because as you saw with one photo, it takes time. So obviously it's going to take a little bit of time for a few of them. I'm going to go ahead and click on stop here just because I want to talk about one little thing while we are done with this. And that is there's a little toggle switch on the sync button. A lot of people ask what that does. That just turns on auto sync. And what the difference between auto sync means is you're the kind of person that thinks ahead of time. Okay, this is not me. But you're the kind of person that thinks, while I'm editing this photo, I'm going to shift click down here and select all of these photos with auto sync on. Whatever I do to that one photo is happening at the same time to all of the other photos. So it's two ways to accomplish the same exact thing. You're the kind of person that thinks about it ahead of time, where I'm the kind of person that edits a photo and looks at a bunch of other photos and thinks, yeah, I think I want to do that to all the other photos. So they do the same exact thing. They just do it in a little bit of a different way there. But this is the way that we have batch processed photos in Lightroom Classic since the beginning. And now that we have to no longer create the extra DNG file for denoise, now we can get back to syncing our changes when it comes to noise reduction and all these other things. We can get back to syncing them the same way that we really have synced everything in Lightroom Classic really since the beginning. Also, following up on this noise reduction topic, a popular question that I get is, can you mask noise reduction, the AI denoise noise reduction? Can you mask that into just certain parts of the photo? The short answer is no, but there is a workaround that can do it. It involves a little bit of Photoshop, and if you're looking for a free video on how to do it, this one would be a great place to go to next.